G'day, Tony. How are you? Riders on the storm. Bum, 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 bum. Good evening, good morning, and here is the news. The world is in chaos. But as long as you have chocolate, it doesn't matter. Gonna cop. Excuse me. Gonna cop us into Orm tonight. Coming from the northwest. But we went beyond long. It's late. What was it, another couple of days and Bully's released into parole? Is that right?
Ah,
1st of July. Let's count that money tomorrow. I think it's about 4-2 we need to give him.
when's he coming to start?
Oh, I just said Monday.
I got some of those 5 hits.
It's cool, isn't it?
The truck.
That's funny, that one. That is very funny.
That's $250, that one.
Just wouldn't contain the flames too well, though. Unless you had a big paddock. So that paint would come off on the first burn. Getting windy. Mel's around. Been very quiet.
Huh?
Mel's been very quiet lately.
Mel, I haven't messaged anyone lately when you've gone on because I haven't really gone on when you've been on. Been sitting here listening. Mel's been working, I think, anyway. Tony's too busy watching TR.
Don't do it. Let's switch it around a moment. Hello. How are you? Good, I hope. I hope everything's well and you're not suffering at all. And there's plenty of chocolate. Good evening, VMAC. Good morning to you.
Well, you turned it round and...
Did you go for a swim the other day? Telling me the water was 13 degrees? Ugh, bloody freezing. So I shall talk to you people tonight briefly. Because we have a storm coming. Another one. We tend to have a lot of storms this time of year. Sometimes with just wind and no rain. But we had an inch of rain today. It's good.
Yeah,
So if you only get about 7 a year, right?
There's been nothing exciting.
You're on camera.
The storms.
Just a quick tip. It was cold. If I had cojones, they'd be gone. I'm sure they're floating down the shoreline about now. Too cold. But at least you're getting the summer, which is good. So I was in the shower and the wife didn't come and save me at all. As she said, after I had a shower, there was lightning everywhere. You could have died. So she just put the copper wire to the doorknob in the bedroom and onto the bathroom. But it didn't work. Didn't work. Yeah,
No.
humidity's not nice. Mind you, 13 degree temperature water's not even nicer itself. Still got a bit of hair left. For an old man. It's a wig, of course, look, see? See how it moves? It's a wig. Straight out the shower. I'm doing a Tony Abbott. And I was just saying to the missus, it's nearly time for Bully to come back. What do you think, missus?
Yeah, got it. But
And I'm sure on the 1st of July, VMAC will be here to welcome him back. Well, he gets his last opportunity, which is only fair. But there'll be no innuendo, there'll be no sly, there'll be no direct insults. That will be the end. That's right, the 1st of July is Canada Day, where everyone gets together and, oh, well, that won't be happening. You'll be watching it on telly. Australia Day is huge, 26th of January, though that might change in the future. But big day in Australia. Sporting grounds open up big time following this weekend. 30,000 people are allowed to attend. Only in our state, but that'd be interesting. Be a bit cautious still, I think, might be the smart move. Cool. Yeah, you can't have fireworks in Australia, not since about 1970 something. Kids kept blowing their hands off, setting fire to the bush. So it was no more fireworks. Though, in the neighbourhood, you do hear the odd pop, crackle, snap, because they get them underworld type, purchases. But I pay more time on plague prevention than worrying about food. Well, like I say, it's not going anywhere. If people were realistic and realised that even though things are opening up in certain parts of the world, in my state it's completely open, but because people are disregarding the obvious, and that is this thing's not gone anywhere. And the outbreaks and the surges we're seeing, particularly in the US, prove that point. Opened up too early, and too many people just thought, oh, well, it's over, it's finished. That's good. No, it's not over. It's only over if a treatment can prevent death and if a vaccine is provided in the next year or two. We've got to be realistic. The most realistic approach is that some remedies and medications could be found to prevent loss of life. Won't stop the disease. And there's no vaccine being delivered next week. So, unless you play the smart, it'll bite you in the arse. So I know what Australia Day does, and that's usually gathers millions of Australians to the beach, barbecues at people's houses, lots of barbecues. In fact, that's what we do mainly, is barbecues for Australia Day. I'm pretty sure Canada wouldn't be much different. Might throw the odd manatee onto the big barbie. In your case, just a very large turnip, VMAC. Or I love baked potatoes wrapped in foil. I could just sit there and eat them next to a fire all night. Give me a little bit of salt, pepper and butter. I'm good to go. Yeah, I mean, it's just being smart. Like, I have no problem having a gathering of people together, as long as they're aware that, any one of us could be carrying the damn thing. But the word of the day is complacency. Some people are just stupid. was listening to a Lebanese young man, probably about 25, in the north of Melbourne, where a lot of them are Muslim, and that's fine. And they went through Ramadan. At the end of Ramadan, there's a thing called Eid, where people get together and celebrate in big groups. And they did. So that is the outcome of why there's an outbreak in huge families. Yeah, this young Lebanese boy was saying, "It's all right, not got nothing, mate. I'm good, look, fit, healthy boy, no worries." And the reporter said, "What if you contract the disease and pass it to your grandmother?" Won't happen, mate, won't happen. Does happen. Bought a bunch of one-time used masks for when someone makes a trip to the table for food. Good idea. There's nothing wrong in being cautious and playing it smart, because it's the inadvertent person like that young Lebanese boy who will go and see his grandmother and say, "How you going, grandmother? Good? Is good? Yeah. Give me a hug. Kiss. Yes. Oh, what's happening next weekend? Hello? Grandmother died. Oh, that's no good. What'd she die of? Right. And I've got to get tested. Oh, okay. Test come back. Yeah, you had it. You passed it on to your grandmother. You ignorant son of a bitch." Elvis went to a big hooker party last night. It was packed. Oh, jeez. Oh, well. Like I say, the stupid is strong in some. Now, if he went to a party, there would have been drinks and food, and he wouldn't have paid for nothing, obviously. Which is the norm. You'll be watching the Chicago news. I just think people are complacent to the extent that if it's not happened to them, it doesn't exist. You know, if this virus was purple, had 3 legs and a big red eye, we could see it coming. Would be good. We could shoot the bugger before it got near. But it has no legs, doesn't have a red eye, and we can't see it. Evening, Tony. How are you? Thought I'd pop down from the pearly gates and just make sure that you're clean. So check him out, yeah. Yeah, he's all right. He's clean. We'll let him into purgatory at least. Seat number 69 is on to your left as you come there, son. Yeah, it's just a hard bench, but still, you know, sometimes you got to suffer to get a reward. Clean as a whistle. Well, I just did me Tony Abbott. I just went and had a shower. And I was singing while I was in the shower. There's only one Tony Abbott. Da-da-da-da-da. There's only one Tony Abbott, yeah. Of course, this is lost on everyone else but us. The time here, I have no idea. What is the time?
Nearly 9.
9 o'clock. Oh, no. It's that late. So, out here, when it gets cold, VMAC, right, tonight it is 17 degrees. These are nearly going on. Little mittens. No, it's not too bad tonight, actually. Every time it rains, it gets warm. Till it hails. 10 a.m., 11 p.m. where Tony lives, which is in a palace on a hill, surrounded by a moat, with M16s at every corner. No one's getting there. So, where those one get single. Actually, it's remarkable because they got like fingers that go through them. They still keep my hands warm. And my mother-in-law, before she passed many years ago, made me a crochet set, or knitted gloves. Crocheted, yeah. The big orange, purple and green and things. And they just sort of cover my whole hands. And crocodiles, Tony says. We still got chocolate left, by the way, VMAC.
Not a lot.
Oh, we keep giving it to the kids. But we had our daughter over tonight. She's big as a whale. And we're having a, what do they call it? Baby shower. Baby shower here on next Saturday.
I have to remember that. I thought it was
And
Sunday.
I think she won't be too late after that going in to have the baby. So we'll have grandchild number 10. Don't you have a heater in the car, VMAC?
You crasher them, VMAC.
Does she?
I don't know, I'm asking her. She said she wears mittens but makes them.
You had a good feed tonight. I'd made up that combination stirred fried rice earlier in the day. Cooked up some of the spring rolls with all the veggies out of our garden. And also honey sesame crunchy chicken. It was yum. Of course, the kids took a whole bucket load home with them. You got a bit left for you. Rice and some chicken I saved for you.
There's 2 spring rolls left.
Yeah, they're right, cold. Vegetarian spring rolls. She's always been anxious. She's an anxious person, but she is being quite resolute and strong. It will probably be a C-section, not sure.
Yeah, she's scared because it was the first childbirth was not good.
But she's big. All right, mate, you have a good one, Tony.
See you, Tony.
Off to work Monday. Parliament House. Yeah, so she's on edge, but it won't be long. We're here to offer her support, of course.
But if you mean about the virus and that, no, because our state's pretty good, VMAC, so... And she got permission off the midwife that I can come in.
Yep.
So I have to have a bag packed.
So you're there for all but the birth, and then you're following the baby?
If it's a natural...
Well, there's not much point just giving... Well, plasma is used, of course. People think plasma is something new that we're using just for COVID, but that's not true. There's lots of goodies in plasma. And when you get your blood taken, you can actually see the blood in one area and the plasma go to another area. My hair is still a little bit damp from the shower.
What day is he coming again for the rail?
Tomorrow.
Oh.
I've got all this cash
Maybe.
ready to pay him, eh?
Well, in this weather?
Well, they've only got to bore probably 4 or 5 holes into the limestone.
Yeah, you better check the cash.
Oh, you're a special tape, are you? That's good. Your blood. You're helping someone you don't even know, which is good.
Probably the best way to be.
Yeah, no, it's just, you know, what goes around comes around. Maybe one day you'll need blood. I think we're going to get a bit of a blow shortly. So what you're doing today, you're not working today, Sunday, surely. A day of relaxation and leisure and chocolate. Seems fair. We got some more of our... Actually, we saw some really big half wine barrels today. The big barrels, and they were like only $99. Yeah, and I think it's a good way to be, not worried, but cautious, smart. We are in for a terrible 3 months. And that doesn't just include the virus, that includes the economy getting a huge crunch. Guaranteed. You heard it here. I'm not a doomsayer at all, but the mechanisms for support disappear all around the globe about at the same time. So everyone else sleeps in the house, do they, VMAC? I'm the same here. Wife likes a bit of a sleep in. Likes to snooze about 10 hours a night.
Yeah, I don't really sleep that much, but 10 hours.
I always get up and see the sun. Hello, sun.
What's for brunch?
Oh, hash browns, maybe, eggs, toast, maybe some protein for the boys. Picked up, we had one, we don't know where it got to. We had a vacuum sealer, didn't we? A beauty one. So we got another one 2 days ago, and they're good. Vacuum sealers, they're pretty good. Forgot to tell you, I should take out a couple of schnitzels I made last week. Maybe I should have them tomorrow. 5:30, matter. Yeah, I'm the same. Sometimes earlier. I can't lie in bed awake, so I get up even if it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I make a cuppa, come outside. Weather permitting, we'll be able to sit on our front veranda next week, hopefully. I'll have a video coming up. Probably at the end of this coming week. All the posts and timber and rafters are up. Just need the Colorbond on, guttering, downpipes put down to the storm water. And then we've got to paint the bugger. What are you doing next weekend, VMAC? Want to come over and do a bit of painting? Paint's not cheap. Well, good paint's not cheap. We've got other paint for undercoat, primer, but the finished colour paint, colour doesn't cost you anything, but Weather Shield, what was 4 litres? 80 bucks?
Yeah.
80 bucks for 4 litres.
But it was cheaper to buy 4 litre than go for the...
No, it's the same. Worked out the same. Which is not much saving. You might as well get a smaller tin to carry around to do that. So ballast rail should be up tomorrow?
That's it. All-in-one outdoor paint, isn't it?
Yeah, it's primer and coat in one. But we use some of the other paint to prime as well.
Yeah. Probably, like you say, tones that original colour down.
Chocolate dipped strawberries for brunch. Oh, yum. But they're nearly all gone. Just tell them you didn't have any. just hide the evidence. Love strawberries. Like picking them off the bush. Mind you, the grandkids too. Garden candy. Oh, another one. They generally pick the ones that aren't ripe too, if you're not looking, if you know what I mean. And they spit them out. Our garden's going all right. It's producing a lot of winter foods, which is good. Broccoli coming along nicely. Had to prune them back like you wouldn't imagine. But the leaves of the broccoli you can eat as well. So what's happening in Canada, VMAC, is it sort of, I know what you're saying about being cautious and smart, but overall, are things opening up, sport and all that sort of thing? So we're going to tell you that conditioner is pretty good.
Yeah, you don't need a lot?
No,
I know.
I don't.
I
use
should have
it
bought
anyway.
the shampoo when it was on special to go with it.
So there's a shampoo with it too, is there?
You know how much it is normally?
No.
Take a guess.
15?
18.
Okay. Maybe we'll buy it once a year.
Yeah, but sometimes I need the better stuff in my hair.
That's what I was saying. These big half wine barrels at a hardware store called Bunnings. They're big, bigger than the ones we got. Thinking of getting some of them for the front when we pave out the front. We are 3 weeks virus-free on Ontario, and Quebec is still struggling. Right. We've only got Victoria that's having a hard time, and due to social habits, sadly. As the wife said tonight, you've got to go on living and doing stuff, but you just got to be smart when you do it. To do otherwise is foolish. Yep, that's a smart move, opening up the borders to areas that are going well. You can't drive into my state, you can't fly into my state. 2 states near us, one's the Northern Territory and one's South Australia, have opened their border for us, but our border remained closed. So, like I say, maybe we're being a little overcautious. We don't have any sick people, but the whole community is back to work and everything's back to normal. I'll be honest with you, Mac, it won't be open this year, your border with the US. I cannot see it being opened at all. And if I was Trudeau, I'd be saying it's staying closed. There's a very good chance middle of next year Canadians will be able to come to Australia and Australians will be able to go to Canada, but not the US. We would have been gearing up to go to the US ourselves, as you know. We planned to go in around about late September, but that can't happen.
No.
But we will take you for a trip if you want to come and follow us to New Zealand. Not sure when, but we've been there. We love New Zealand. It's beautiful. We've got some people we'll catch up with. Yep, I'm sure that's pissed off, well, not Americans. It would have pissed off Trump no end. But there's going to be a lot of political fire backwards and forwards. You know, Canada being accused of being too protective, blah, blah. You'll get that. That's coming. We're just not letting anyone into the country. The Australians that are coming back still, that have been stranded for months, are landing, but they go straight to quarantine and they're not allowed to leave until they have a test. You don't like the rules? Don't come here. But it's going to be different for at least a couple of years. And we are going to go through a crunch. It's not something you want. I mean, if people know the history, there was a Great Depression in 1891. It's a weird depression, actually. Started in the US in regards to oversupply of railway lines. Weird, I know. But then a lot of other indicators came in as well. They didn't do any stimulus. It's the same in the 1930s. Oh yeah, there's a lot of negotiation between Canada, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK. There's lots of talks going on right now. You guys already take a lot of our stuff. You drink a lot of our wine there. Actually, what was your wine like tonight?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Can't remember the last
Did you
time.
put it in the fridge or?
No, it's on the table.
Oh, right.
I think it'd be right out, won't it?
But being so reliant on all your eggs in one basket, like most of the crap you buy is made in China. And that's got to stop because we need to have lots of little baskets of eggs everywhere. Trade with Canada's always been pretty good with Australians. We have a lot of natural resources like you guys do. So that won't change. But maybe, because Aussies, a lot of Aussies go to Canada, as you probably know. We don't get a lot of Canadians who come to Australia. I've met probably a dozen in my lifetime. But they come, but not in great numbers. But maybe it'll be a different thing in the future. But most of the Canadians will come this time of year when it's like 17 degrees at night. They'll be going, oh, bloody beautiful. Eh? It's cold. But there's, like I say, there's going to be lots of countries ban. You know, it was the other way around 3 months ago. The US banned the EU. They banned China. They banned everyone going to the US. Well, now it's sort of the boots on the other foot where other countries are saying we don't want Americans to come to our country. Yeah, no, I've been keeping abreast of that situation, how we spy, if you like. They've done the same to us. There's a bloke that's been in prison in China for like 7 years, and just this week they decided they were going to execute him, and they made it all public knowledge. Do you know what I mean? Little leverages Chinese have been trying to use, like going to the Indian border, like going into the South China Sea and pissing off Indonesia. Oh, they would have loved it, I'm sure. Did they come to the West Coast? Most of them just stay on the East Coast, and all they see is cities. Might as well stay home. I bet they had a ball. They would have had a pie, for sure. Told you about the Australian pies. They're everywhere, Mum. There's a pie in every street corner. But that's what's happening. We know within, probably before Christmas, Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, Fiji, Samoa, all those areas will have a bit of a bubble in regards to tourism. And Australians will go there, for sure. And Australians are going to a lot of Australian places, which is good. Sometimes people forget that our country is magnificent and they go to some other country. But they're starting to fill up tourist spots around the country now, which is a good thing. Oh yeah, they would love the pub food in Australia. It's good food. All the pubs do good food because they keep people there to drink. Not much money in food, but plenty of money in drink. Our casino is open, and without doubt there'd probably be, what do you reckon, 10,000 people there? Easy.
Yeah.
Time for a little bit of aqua. I'm sure it is. There's not much difference between Australians and Canadians. Except you're shorter, not as good looking, a lot colder there. I'm sure the food's good and the beer's probably nice. But it's like Australia. I understand how big Canada is. No, we don't go to the casino. But to do Canada, we'd probably need 3 months to soak up a little bit. I always find it funny when people say, "Oh, I've been to the UK. I know it all well." Like they've been there 2 weeks. It's crazy. You need a long time. Hello, Buttercup. It's not. I suppose it's not funny, but we'll have 30,000 people at a football match next weekend, and everything's open. Our borders are closed. I think the UK is making a terrible mistake opening up to Spain, Portugal. Just dumb. Because you can be guaranteed what's going to happen. But that's whatever they want to do. The boss is over here, but she doesn't want to be on camera. You know what I mean?
No, you
Need to speak to a publicist,
Yeah, that's
her
right.
agent. You know, you got to get your guy to call
Well,
their guy and
That's
stuff.
because I'm in and out playing.
Games.
Actually, I was watching Funny Squirrels.
I think, I'll be honest with you, VMAC, nothing's off the table as far as humour. Everything should be laughed at. Nah, I just think it's the simplicity of so many people in a small place. Like we've got, I don't know, 3.5 million people in our state spread over the size of Western Europe, and add a bit of Russia and other parts of Europe to it, and then you'd see the size of my state. So yeah. But you can see it in the people's faces. They're more confident here now. But I told you a couple of nights ago about how there's been a spike in ethnic groups within Melbourne because of Eid and the end of Ramadan. They all got together and hugged and kissed and then passed the virus on. But that's the only place. Everything else is pretty good. So we're back to normal as far as the state. What we used to do, we're doing. What's not happening is tourists aren't being allowed in. Our borders are closed. But other than that, it's back to normal.
Whatever happened to modern off-grid guy that was... Oh, he's still around.
Oh, he's still around.
He just doesn't do a lot of videos because he's been busy.
We've talked to him recently.
He's been busy.
I mean, YouTube's not the be-all and end. I mean, if someone said, you got to get off YouTube, I'd say, okay. That's fine. He's talking about Herbie, the modern off-gridders. Great people. Him and his wife and kids. All sorts of stuff they've done. Brilliant. Oh, it's coming, Buttercup. I've already stated my belief by September the nightmare will begin. Yes, I think the word VMAC for some of these channels, they're quite similar. They're delusional. Some are delusion with grandeur. Some are just deluded. But they all do this. It just is not within their scope of thought process not to do this in one form or another. And I think it's normal. It's not normal, and it's belittling of yourself. It shows very low self-esteem, that you're not capable to care for yourself, and it becomes entrenched in their behaviour.
What are you talking about?
E-beggars in general.
Poor Tony's just been watching Trouty because he's been bored.
Wow.
But Herbie's doing well. He just hasn't done many videos because, to start with, the internet was no good. Then he was building. Because
He's been flat out. They've been building lots on the property. Oh yeah, no, I've probably got half a dozen channels that I do watch. Most are cooking channels, of course. Building, innovation. I like watching Thinking Outside the Box. He's always coming up with something. He's a very intuitively logic thinking person and knows that if he does this, he gets this, and that's the result.
It's actually a shame that Herbie stopped doing videos, because he would have had a lot good videos to show now. He even said that himself, but it was just the time.
I think because a lot of people don't know what we know about Herbie, he has a massive family. And to give you an idea, like Thanksgiving, he'd have, and I'm not kidding, 100 people at his place. So he's very family orientated, great guy. Flo, his wife, lovely lady, and the kids are great. And it's like, I get it, he's got a lot more important things to do than put videos up. And he's a good bloke. Yeah, I've seen a few of them. There's one guy I followed for a few years and he stopped making videos. I forget what his name was. But he would go out for months at a time, VMAC, and he'd hunt, and very basic stuff, just survival, but comfortable because he was smart at what he did. So yeah, they're interesting. I do not watch reality TV shows. They just drive me nuts. They're all set up for people to get hurt and get someone ridiculed, and that's not on my agenda. But loads of people love that shit, you know? Someone gets hurt, abused, whatever. And these building shows drive me nuts. I don't watch them. You know, like, what's the one they have in Australia? The Block. It's probably all around the world, I suppose. But they have people who have no idea about building, get given a unit or a house to fix, and then they get professional men to come and work to do it. They're like picking colours. And I'm thinking, that's not building. It's ridiculous. But the whole show's not about building, is it? It's about confrontation. Sounds good. Sounds like a good lifestyle, VMAC. It's like, I'm sure you would have seen, and I'm sure Buttercup would have seen Dick Prenicky, who at the age of 50, in the wilderness, built a magnificent little camp. Of course, he's passed away now, but his camp is still visited by people. Yeah, it's like fodder, Buttercup. It's like feeding to their narcissistic joy and glee of watching that girl go under and lose. So a lot of shows like that have a theme. Could be cooking or it could be whatever. But it all boils down to that people get ridiculed.
I like Big
And
Brother.
there are suspenseful moments, like someone said something, and so just all drama.
Every time I see Farmer Wants a Wife, all I do is think of Link. We should put him on there.
But yeah, it's feeding the habits. A lot of the shows that were done about Dick Prenicky were not narrated by Dick Prenicky. And I've heard him speak, and you're probably right, a bit like me, monotone voice and not very exciting, but a clever man and good at what he did, very good. Pioneer type spirit, if you like, in the 60s, 70s.
He lived out there till 90-something, didn't he? Before they made him come into town, or...
Oh, I think he got that ill in the end. You get old, you get ill. But he had a good life. There's another one that I like, and he's not been that well lately, is Boss of the Swamp. But very practical man. Very similar to Dick Prenicky in many ways, that he would prefer to make it, chop it, and build it, than buy it.
Well, that's one of his, what do you call it when you admire someone?
Oh, it's probably someone he looked up to, I guess.
Yeah, it is. He often says that.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure
one
it
of
is.
his bucket list is to actually go to his camp.
I've heard that one, yeah. Yeah, there's a special art in narrating to make something exciting and flow. Well, I don't think Dick had that, to be honest, but I don't discredit him for his lack of television skills, but he certainly was very creative. But there's lots of people like that we wouldn't even hear about. People doing it today. We've got a professor of economics who was on television the other day. Now he's gone to the western edge of New South Wales, which is desert country, it's nothing. He's deliberately gone there to do a few studies into certain things, but he's there for one main reason, to stay away from the COVID. They do. I mean, you're a storyteller, VMAC, as well. So you've got to encapsulate the story, the moments within a story, and you dramatise your voice to suit that part of the story.
We can picture Butty doing limericks.
There was a young girl from Wales
Butty,
who had boobs the size of sails.
yeah. Butty and her limericks.
But, like I say, there's a crunch coming. Just be smart. It's like knowing there's a storm coming. And you have to think, right, got to make sure they're tucked away and that's bolted down, and you've got to think before it happens. And I never make outlandish claims. I just know logically. My lateral thinking tells me by September, the start of the big collapse around the world is imminent. And nothing we can do about it. We have to go through this. It's inevitable.
Oh, that's good, VMAC. So you've been doing a lot lately?
I think it's a great thing you do. Go to, because it's never lost on me. Old people really are just young people with wrinkles. Yes, they're a bit dithery and they might forget a bit and they're a bit ailing as far as mobility and all that, but they're still the same person inside. And one thing that they crave is to have something new come into their lives. If they're in a nursing home or a retirement village, and it's the same thing every day, you say good morning to the neighbour and pat the neighbour's cat and clip a few daisies in your garden and go back have lunch. Same thing every day. Someone comes in and does a reading of a story, they're enthralled. Two things. One, you're new, or they like you, you come regularly and they like you, and they look forward to it. That's what the big difference is. Yeah, that's great. And the truth be known is that if some of the older people in those areas had the oratorial skills, they could tell some fantastic stories. They really could. I miss what Buttercup said. She said, oldies nowadays are treated beyond badly. Yeah, it's like a disposable generation. Oh, you're old? Don't worry about him. Just put him over there. Put him out the way. He's old. He's not giving us any more tax money. Put him over there. Which is untrue. One thing I would never ever do is like read to older people like you're reading to kids. You've got to respect their age and the things that they've been through. There's a wind coming from the north. I think it's coming all the way from Canada. Starting to get quite gusty.
This is Butty's weather.
Yeah, nice day in Wales, eh?
Butty likes it windy.
Yeah, we're getting a few big ones coming in the next few days. Hopefully all the fences stay up. Wet and windy there as well. It's summer there. What are you talking about? You should be saying things like the rays of sun coming through the back window when I overlook the porch and the warm breeze that hits me. as I sit and sip a martini. No, it's just raining in Wales. It's summer. VMAC went swimming in 13-degree water because it's summer. Really muggy.
Do you have to put something on that, or is it going to blow away?
No, it'd be good. It's all tied down on the legs. "5 days of summer." You know, the funny thing, when we were there, and it was May, and we left in June, it was beautiful. We had 1 day of rain, didn't we?
Yeah.
1 day of rain. I think I should get paid by the UK government to come there. If you want a nice summer, just get me to come there. No rain. I just said 7 massive oak trees cut down and got a lot of clean up to do. Raining now. Glad to have some entertainment from you guys. Seems to be bloody raining everywhere. Well, it's blowing a gale here, and we have got a big storm coming, and the temperature has dropped to 17 degrees. Ohio. Nice place, Ohio. Lots of hills and valleys and dales. Suffers the odd drought.
It'll be my right.
If we had a freak blizzard tomorrow, I would refuse to wear a jacket or boots because it's summer, damn it. I'm just wearing a jumper thing and a t-shirt and no undies and no pants.
He is wearing pants.
Just kidding.
So raining.
Too damn cold for that.
Ohio too.
Famous songs out of Ohio, isn't they?
Isn't that spelled funny?
What, Ohio?
Yeah. Think
No.
of how you say it and then look at the spelling.
No. That's how I would say it if I didn't know.
Yeah, I
Ohio.
know. Ohio.
But it's been a mild winter. Like, we've had the heater on, and we only turned the heater on 18 degrees. And we had it on, I think, 2 nights so far this winter. But August is our coldest, windy, stormy, without rain month, and it will be cold in
The
August.
August winds.
Au revoir, mon ami VMAC.
Enjoy your brunch.
She's off to feed the crew. And tonight, Buttercup, we had, I made a combination of rice this morning, made some vegetarian spring rolls, about 6 inches long, and some honey and sesame crunchy battered chicken, which the kids came round and ate and took buckets home with them.
So what are you going to do with all the oak trees you had cut down?
Well, you could sell them, unless they're gnarly. Oaks are very expensive timber.
Yes. Yeah, I thought so.
What's that? Yeah, yep. Yep, I think you left a message the other day along those lines. They were good days. We used to get and talk about things like solar and growing your own food. Everyone chipped in and gave information, which is great.
Pal Talk just got too hard to use.
Yeah, got to be a pain in the arse in the end. But the thing about knowledge, it's not worth anything unless you share it.
Well,
Free
with the
pack
proper
things.
spring roll pastry.
Got to keep them damp. That's one thing with those. While you're here, when you're here, I'll show you how I make them, and you'll be whiz at it by the time you leave. They're good actually to go to, like I've made like
Oh.
lamb and vegetable spring rolls, but just veggie spring rolls.
Oh, that's a shame, mine, that you can't utilise them.
Asian long beetle.
Yeah.
Yeah, oak's magnificent timber, but if it's riddled, it's not worth anything. The only oak thing we got is that old park bench down the back. That must be 80 years old.
Oh, so you got different spring roll pastry to what we had.
Back to the phyllo. Yeah.
Yeah, your fellow ones look fine.
I'll show you when you get it. It's all pin oak. Right. My favourite timber is Oregon and teak. They're very expensive.
On Jarrah.
Jarrah is the most expensive. That's what we're standing on. The house is made up of a lot of Jarrah. Even these old windows behind me, even though they're painted, they're Jarrah. But we got all the crap out of the house and into the shed, which is good. It was a relief getting most of that in there, wasn't it?
Just have to this better set up for next Saturday.
Yeah, we'll take those tiles down to the shed. Yeah, good actually, Buttercup. All the posts that I restored, they're up. The frame's up, but we've had rain.
Yeah.
So the plumber who's going to put new guttering and put the roof on for me hasn't been able to come here. And he can't work in this wind. It'll get there. I think by the end of next week we'll be pretty close. And then we can think about paving at the front.
Oh, that's good, mine. Slow, but steady, and you'll get there.
Yeah, I had 3.5 acres, and I found that you just got to have a plan and just plod along. I used to make between 6 and 10 grand a year out of cash crops, watermelons, passion fruit, whatever. I used to know a guy that ran a fruit and veg major distribution, and he just told me what he wanted me to grow. You married a Filipino before Troy. Well, it doesn't matter who you marry, as long as you're not deluded. And I'm pretty sure you didn't get yours paid for. You know what I'm talking about. And then we will be probably, I reckon next year, starting on refurbishing the floorboards in the old part of the house. Probably some new furniture. But that's a long process. See how much of these old skirting boards I've got, and if they will finish the lounge off. I might put them in there if we're going to do the floorboards up. Yep. We're always doing something. We were painting some of these. There's a 75-year-old guy who made up, they're like wine barrels, but they're not wine barrels. He just makes them up. So we've been oiling them. He managed to order a new birth certificate so I could order a new passport. I went through that. It was something like,
We didn't get you a new birth certificate. It's still got your original one. Your old from whenever.
yeah, but I had to chase that down at Somerset House in the UK.
Well, you must have done that many
Years ago.
moons ago.
I knew I needed that to become a citizen.
Well, you didn't have it when you moved to you must have had it when you moved to Australia. Your mum must have had it because
No,
that's how
when you
old it
move, like if Buttercup moves to Australia, she's a resident until she becomes a citizen. So you're a resident of the country, in other words, you're allowed to live here. But until you become a citizen, And to have a citizen, you need, particularly like for a passport, you need to have your birth certificate.
I know all that, but I was with you when you got citizen society. So actually, I couldn't go in with you. I had to stay outside or home, whatever. But you had your birth certificate way before then because it's falling apart.
No, I know, but I needed it to become a citizen.
Yeah.
But it took years to get it. I keep getting letters back saying, no, you'll have to go here, you'll have to go there. Just run
What
around
I'm
like you want a
saying is
man.
You didn't get that birth certificate just before you became a citizen.
No, but you misunderstand me. To become a citizen, I've been chasing it down for years. They wouldn't accept
Well, you're going to have to chase it
an
down.
extract.
You're going to have to chase it down again because your one's nearly falling apart.
No, it doesn't matter because I'm a citizen of Australia. All that's recorded.
I know, but you still need that birth certificate for some, for other stuff.
Your town is smack in the middle of the protests and riots. Well, I suggest you do one thing. Stay home.
How long does it say you've got? Oh, you've got to wait for your birth certificate to come and then you can do the passport.
Australia will still accept people coming to Australia under the proviso that I can imagine you'll probably be right coming here, but they'll probably want you to spend 2 weeks in this house and not go anywhere. That's what I see would happen, even in the future, which is, it's misty at the moment. The future's like, I don't know. But the government's made statements over the last couple of months saying they have no intention of opening up to any parts of the world until at least the earliest would be the middle of next year.
A chipmunk problem. I think maybe you better Google that.
Well, have you tried onions, potatoes and carrots and a little slab of chipmunk in the stew?
Don't say
Bloody beautiful,
Don't
mate.
say that.
Add a bit of Worcestershire, pepper, salt. Yeah,
Don't
good.
listen to him.
I'd eat anything. If I'm hungry, I'm eating it.
Oh, chipmunk. I don't know. I don't know how you could. Well, maybe with your trees gone it'll help.
Chipmunks, when they're in, you're not really going to move them. They're cute little buggers, but
Butty, you're as bad as seeds.
what's that?
You said a shotgun.
A shotgun will do. But you don't know how many chipmunks are there. Hundreds of the buggers.
Oh, God. Oh, under the house, geez.
I mean, they're basically just like any rodent. They'll take advantage of anything lying around. I remember a mate of mine saying his cat was getting so skinny. And he was in Texas, and he was saying he figured out it was chipmunks were just ploughing into the food or taking it and burying it. And the poor old cat's sort of going, I'm hungry. The croakers look like tiny lobsters. We got loads of what we call yabbies. They're probably about 8-10 inches long. They're like miniature lobsters there in fresh water. But we got billions of crayfish or lobster. Western Australia, where I live, is the capital of the world for lobster. Yeah. If they're the same thing, I'm thinking they just bore around and create holes everywhere. I do know one of the things that does work, and is a bit mean, is that you just wrap all the base of your house in plastic and seal it, and then you release smoke all the way through for days. Keep putting smoke in there. In other words, a big tin smouldering with whatever, put it underneath, so the house just fills with smoke. It depletes the oxygen and they get the hell out of there.
Oh, how can they if you wrap it in plastic?
Because they got holes going in and out everywhere.
Have to be careful you don't burn your house down.
No, you only use it smoke. Smoke does one thing, and that depletes oxygen. Plus, you get rid of most of the insects as well. Talk about a pesticide. Mother Nature, smoke. So what did you have for dinner last night, Butters? We had a veritable feast. I know years ago we had terrible problems with rabbits in Australia, and you'd have to spend time, but you'd go around and block 30 of the entry holes, because all have like burrows, but you leave one or two open, one to draw the smoke and one for the smoke to go in. You always pick the windy side, you put the hole where the smoke would come out, and I'm not kidding you, hundreds of rabbits would come bolting out. They'd probably be sitting there for about an hour, and you can hear them cough, I'm not kidding. Then they all bolt and run down the paddock.
Well, there must be a good food source for you to have so many.
Chipmunks will eat anything, I'm pretty sure. The inside of spring rolls, that sounds like an option. We've got some weather coming for sure.
So you had the spring rolls without it being a roll.
It's more like a spaghetti roll. Your spring casings were either too dry, I think, by the sounds of that. Yeah, you're having a good run there, aren't you? Insects, rodents. It's definitely getting windy. We'll do another 5 minutes and then we'll go have one more cigarette. But I think I'd take our winter over VMAX. It's not always cold in the UK, but a lot of the time. Where VMAX lives, ain't much of a summer. Yeah, dogs make short work of rabbits, that's for sure. But I ate a lot of rabbit when I was a kid in the UK. Nothing wrong with rabbit. I ate a lot of rabbit when I came to Australia too. People say, rabbit tastes like chicken. It actually tastes like rabbit. It's not gamey. It was always done in casseroles. Onions, carrots, potatoes, maybe a bit of spinach, and rabbit. He'll get by without his rabbit pie. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Blowing.
What's the disease rabbit gets? There's 2 of them.
Myxomatosis.
And what's the other one?
That's the main one. They get other diseases. But myxomatosis was introduced by man.
Yeah,
And it killed off millions and millions of rabbits, and then they become immune.
And then, but another one came out. can't think of the other one.
No, I don't think rabbits get rabies.
No, not rabies. That's not what I'm thinking of. Yeah, I can't think of
I
the
think
other
the one
name.
that they get is where the eyes are always weeping and sniffing and coughing and
Can't think of it.
there is no rabies in Australia. 0 for rabies. But there's lots of things. Oh, that's a virus for the rabbits, myxomatosis. There's lots of animals that suffer through viruses. We've got our Tasmanian devil, which is a nasty little beast. It's not actually that little either. And they're quite aggressive, but they have a skin virus which has been terribly affecting them for decades.
Affects their jaw.
They have all this cancer and half the jaw goes missing, an eye, and terrible. But they have sanctuaries where they're clear of the virus.
But the same as possums. Our possums get a disease as well. Makes them back legs paralysed.
As far as bacteria and viruses go, Earth's a pretty nasty place. If you ever speak to an epidemiologist, what they call an epidermist or whatever they'll explain that if all the viruses crossed into humanity, none of us would be here. There's
Yeah.
a lot more nasty ones than the ones that's going around at the moment.
But it's like it doesn't affect kangaroos, and obviously it doesn't affect chipmunks.
Mother Nature balances out animals. If we weren't here as a species, there would be dominance over different times by different animals for different reasons. Climate would be one of them.
Yeah, the what do you say, the devil, Tasmanian devil, that
Yeah.
they get, yeah.
Tasty
it is.
devil. They're probably the size of a small dog, very aggressive, and they bite you. They've got teeth to do it too. I'm talking about their jaw is stronger than anything, and they crunch bones. But you wouldn't see many in the wild. They're very sort of reclusive. I suppose the most aggressive animals in Australia are water buffalo and dingoes. That's about the two. Water buffalo scared the hell out of me one day. It wanted to kill me. This thing would have weighed 2 ton. And the wind blew.
How strong is this wind supposed to get?
Oh, this is about 60 k's, the wind we're getting at the moment. Most dangerous here is Democrats. Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to live with a new Democrat as your leader, without doubt. About the evil buggers. Well, everybody dies, Buttercup. If we could remove all of the evil people on the planet right now, it would only take a few days for them to be replaced. The stepping stones of greed. We're not a very good species. There is no one for all and all for one. It's all for one. Yes, I want you to embrace your new President Biden. He will win in a landslide. And he doesn't even have to talk between now and November. I've watched American politics for a very long time. And I have to say, I've never seen the politics run like the mafia, and basically people are not important. And I'm afraid that toll cannot be reversed now. The damage is done. And whatever your politics are, it doesn't matter. The one thing a leader must do is look after the people. Period. Money, economies, yep, they're important, but not as important as people. And that's something this president has not done. Yeah, I just wish they'd, elect some president under the age of 70.
Well, isn't it goes the same with the Pope? He's always 90.
You've got to be nearly dead to become the Pope. Well, he's about the same age as Trump, actually. Mine, not much difference. I think America has to change.
He's a lot older than Trump.
No, Trump's 72 or 3.
Oh, is
I
he?
think Biden's 74 or something like that. There's so much division in the US, it's just unbelievable. Well, it would be one of the things I think the people that voting Buttercup would be saying, the lesser of two evils.
I would be.
I mean, China is the big problem on the planet at the moment. They're throwing their weight around all over the place. And the world's noticed. Alzheimer's. Wow.
Alzheimer's sounds alright.
I am not to vote in US, and I care less about who actually leads your country. But I do believe Biden is the lesser of two evils. It's like, your worst nightmare. You've got to pick someone.
I've gone in.
Yep, we shall wrap this up. Good to catch up with you people. We'll do the reverse tonight. I'll say good night.
Yep. It's still on you. Night. Take care of those chipmunks.
And the weather's coming in. Batten down the hatches. Buddy, get up there on the main mast and pull the sail down. I don't care if you're wearing a kilt. Do the damn job. Until next time, sleep tight.